Hi, today we're going to be starting a project with Illustrator, which is the third of the Adobe Suites programs that we're going to be using. And we're going to open up Adobe Illustrator and we're going to create new. We're going to first change to inches, and we're going to create an 11 by 17 inch document. And we have no margins on here, which is fine for what we're doing. So I'm going to click create, and my document shows up. The next thing I want to do is make sure that I have my layers panel activated. And if not, you can go to Window and click on Layers. The Window panel also has colors, brushes, a lot of the other things we've seen in other programs. So I've got my layer panel activated. Down here I can add new layers. I'm going to create 3 layers right away. So I'm going to call this CAD elevation. We're going to import the elevation and first and second floor plan of a drawing of a Trubeck house. This is really important in this program, to be monitoring your layers and controlling them. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Blackboard, and we're going to go to Course Materials. And if you go down to Illustrator, under Illustrator, there's Trubeck Plans and Elevations. And here's the 3 drawings we need, the drawings for Illustrator. So you're going to download all of those, and then you're going to come in here and you're going to open them up as separate files. So we'll start with the elevation first. So I already downloaded them, so I'm going to open them from my downloads, and I'm going to do the elevation first and I'm on the elevation profile. So I'm going to open that up, and I want to copy just the elevation. So I'm going to use the second arrow down from the top, and I'm going to copy that elevation. I'm going to select it. I'm going to do Control C, go back to my main drawing. I'm going to do Control V. So you notice this is green and it shows up as green. I want to keep the whole thing selected because I'm going to go Object, Transform, and I'm going to transform the scale to 50% because this was at 1/4 inch and we want it at 1/8 inch. And then I'm going to leave it selected. I'm going to do Object, Transform. Oops. If I did transform again, it was going to transform to the same one. Object, Rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And I'll say OK. And then I'm going to move the whole thing up. Try to get it centered. So now I'm going to lock that layer. I'm going to go to CAD first floor, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to File, Open. From my downloads, I'm going to take the first floor plan, open it. I'm going to, using the second of the arrows here, I'm going to select the first floor, do Control C, go back to my drawing, do Control V. This is why I want it on different layers. If I had them on the same layer, I wouldn't be able to separate them to manipulate them. So I'm going to do Object, Transform, Scale, and it remembers my last scale, so I say OK. Then Object, Transform, Rotate, it remembers my last rotation. I say OK. I'm going to leave that one where it is, and I'm going to lock that layer and go down to my second floor layer. So again, File, Open my second floor, say OK, and then I will select just the second floor part. I don't need any of the border, just create more erasing for me. Control C, go back here, Control V, Object, Transform, Rotate. It doesn't matter which direction you do it in. Object, Transform, Scale, 50% again, and then I'm going to move it down. So I'm going to create this rendering using these 3. So now I've got these all set. I'm going to go ahead and lock them. Now I need my ruler, so I do Control R to get my rulers, and just like in the other programs, I can pull a guide, and I want to create a new layer called Guides. I notice if I'm on a locked layer and I try to do something, if I try to do any kind of, I get this pencil with a cross mark through it, that's because I'm on a locked layer. So I'm going to go back to my guides layer. I'm going to move that down. And I'm going to pull a guide over so it's halfway through. This is 11-inch wide paper, so I need to be 5.5 inches wide. And I've got that there. Now I'm going to go to the CAD elevation. I'm going to lock my guides so I don't take them by mistake. I'm going to choose my entire CAD file and I'm going to move it over. Now I can move it, or I can use my, by just moving it, or I can use my arrow keys. The Alt and the scroll bar will get me increased, and it looks like I'm just a little bit off. I'm not going to get it exactly right, so I'm close. So I'm going to say that I like that, and I'm going to, oops, I moved it a little bit. I'm going to click out and off of that area, and I've got my plan, my elevation. Now I'm going to unlock the guides again. I'm going to pull another guide, and I'm going to line it up with the side of the elevation. And then what I want to do is I want to line up my floor plans one at a time, lock my guides again. I'll go to the first floor plan, select everything, and scooch it over. You can move them later, but you want to get it pretty good right now so you don't have to mess a lot. And I want to bring it down a little bit. I want to leave some space between the plan and the elevation. So that looks pretty good to me. Next, so I'll lock that layer, and I'm going to go to the second floor, unlock it, and do the same thing. And scroll in, and this one I'm not very far off at all. And I like my placement there, so I'm going to keep that like it is. So I've got my 3 plans up here. Now let's go back to the first floor plan. If I look at this first floor plan, I need to do some cleanup. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of these lines that were on the side. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase them. And it's just like the other one where I use the brackets to make my erasing bar bigger. But I don't want to get too close to here because I could erase something that's important in my drawing. So what I'm going to do is get as close as I can, then I'm going to come in. I'm going to use the select key, and I'm going to pick just that line, and I'm going to hit delete. Do the same for each of them, so I don't delete anything that is unintended. Do the same on the other side. If you're unable to modify this individually, you probably imported the drawing incorrectly. And I'll show you what you should be looking for in the drawings. Okay. So if I expand my CAD file, you're going to see I've got all these paths. Every single line or circle is a path. So then I know I'm on the correct CAD drawing. Next thing I want to do is I want to erase all of these names because we're going to put something that's a little more aesthetically pleasing in here later. So I've got all those deleted. And now if you notice, I've got a pink sync, which I wanted all the lines to be black. So we imported these drawings from AutoCAD. They were drawn in AutoCAD and saved as a PDF, which gave us our line weights. We could go in individually in Illustrator and change the stroke length. So what I want to do first is I want to make my stroke nothing. So I came over here and changed the stroke to nothing. And then I want to pick an object. So I'm picking this path, and you notice now all of a sudden the stroke changes to pink. So we want to select same stroke color. And so it selected all of the pink objects in there, and then I want to change it to black. Click out here, I've instantly changed everything to black. And I see another text that I forgot to erase, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that. So I think that drawing's pretty clean. I'm going to lock it, and I'm going to go to the second floor, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to come in and erase the names. And here I'm getting pretty close to, so I'm going to pick the line individually and hit delete. The bathroom's also pink, so I'm going to go ahead and select one of the pink lines on there, go up to Object, select same stroke color. My stroke color turns to pink. I click black up here, and I've made everything black instantly. So I can do it all at the same time. This will come in helpful if you decide to change your color palette on your rendering later. All right, one other thing I want to do is I want to lock that layer, go to the CAD elevation, open it up. I want to take this line that's here, and I want to extend it all the way across. So I want to give myself my ground line that goes all the way across the paper. So now we've got our elevation and our two floor plans. What we're going to do next is start rendering. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to create a layer, and I'm going to call it first floor first. I'll just do first, and then I'll do floor. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to draw a color for the whole floor. So I'm going to make my stroke nothing, and I'm going to pick a color. And this is where you want to go back to that color palette that we were working on before. And you're going to pick what would be a pleasing array to you. So I'm going to go ahead and pick, let's see. These can always be changed later. I'm going to go pick maybe something a little more red. I'm going to pick a brown color. I'm going to say okay. So you notice now my fill is that color. I'm going to take the pen tool, and I am going to just draw around the edge. And I want to be right at the edge or stay inside my CAD drawings. So now you'll see I've got this whole floor drawing, but I can't see my elevation. So I need to move that down below the first floor. And this is like layers of paper, and now my first floor is up there. Next, I'm going to go in, and I am going to do a wall color. So I'm going to start with the color that I had, and maybe stay in that same range. Walls are often darker color. So I'm going to say, okay, do this brown. Oh, my mistake was I was still on the first floor plan. I need to create a new layer, and I'm going to call it walls. And I want to lock the layer I'm not using. So here's where I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm going to pick my color again. Let's say brown. I may change these later. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to trace around all of the walls with the pen tool, staying within that AutoCAD line. So you can see I've got a wall. If I have just a rectangle, you can use the rectangle tool and create the wall. See if I have another rectangle I can do. Got a couple more down here. I'm going to go ahead and put those in. I've got the rectangle tool opened up. And because my wall layer is on top of my floor layer, it's going to cover that over. I'm going to go ahead and make these. Those are the mullions for the sliding glass door. Now, if you look at this, you'll notice that this doesn't fully cover. So if I made a mistake, I can click that arrow key and I can enlarge it or move it. Next, I'm going to do another wall type. So let me do this as first as a rectangle. And I'm going to show you something in a minute. Let me do a couple more walls. Just following through on the corners. And you have to have a closed loop for it to work. And then I'll do this as a wall. Okay, you can see here, now once I get the wall in, I can see that my floor was not quite right. So I'm going to go ahead and lock my walls and go to my floor. I want to make sure that floor is active. And then I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to double click, and I'm going to move that 1 point over. So it's pretty easy to manipulate it afterwards. So lock that. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do windows. Make a new layer and call it windows. You can use the same layers for both first and second floor, same layer names for both first and second floor. But so for my windows, I want to pick a blue color. Windows tend to be real dark. So maybe I'll pick something that's compatible with that. And I'm going to just do rectangles. Okay. And what you'll notice is that my wall color, because the window layer is below the wall, but above the first floor, where I did the wall mullion, that was automatically covered. So I'll go out, and most of my windows should just be rectangles, so they come on pretty easy. This is actually the sill on the sliding glass door. So I may treat that a little bit differently. I'm going to leave that for right now. So we continue doing wall colors and do the same thing on the first floor. Now, if I need to go back to the wall color, I just use I click off the layer, go to the, unfreeze the layer I want to be in, click my eyedropper, and click the wall color, and then I can easily grab it. Columns are also shaded like walls would be. So I've got one here. Here. And here. And there's one column in the middle of the space. Let me do another wall, and I'm going to show you if I make a mistake what I can do. So let me do this one here. So if I come across and I go up here, and I come out and I realize I forgot that whole leg. So below that pen tool is an anchor point tool. So I can come in here and I can click, I can grab this whole thing and I can add anchor points. So you can also pull out the anchor points out like we did on there, I added one. I can move it. So if I just use the pen tool, I can add anchor points. And then I come up here and I move them. So I move this one up. And I'm going to need to go to the pen tool and add another anchor point down here. Go back and I move it in place. So you can easily adjust this as you go along. If I open up this wall plan, now for every rectangle I have or every path, so you can see rectangles and paths, I've got a different thing. And I can shut them off. Let's see if I can find this path. I think it's that one. I can shut off the path if I need to, or I can lock it, just like I do with the other stuff. So what I want you to do is continue on this and do your entire floor plan, first and second floor plan, clean them up and get all the walls in and the floor, do the kitchen cabinets, and do the bathroom fixtures too. And then we'll pick up from there on the next section. Thanks.